The prosecutor's office in Ecuador revokes former Vice President Jorge Glas' habeas corpus and issues an arrest warrant against him. Amid the closing of campaigns in Colombia, new polling revealed that the candidate for the historic pact coalition, Gustavo Petro, remains in the lead in voting intentions. Russian President Vladimir Putin today proposed the creation of a state information protection system during a meeting of the Russian Security Council. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm your anchor, Jorge Glas, from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. And now we begin. The prosecutor's office in Ecuador issued an arrest warrant against former Vice President Jorge Glas following the conclusion of the habeas corpus review hearing. The Court of Justice of Santa Elena revoked on Friday the habeas corpus granted on April 9th to the former vice president. The order issued by the Ecuadorian court instructs the immediate search, capture, and transfer to the custody of the former vice president. Glas is being prosecuted for several corruption charges described by his defense as a strategy of political persecution against him. And a new explosion in Ecuador kills 3 people. The explosion took place in Daule, and witnesses said that at least 3 separate blasts were heard in the city. During the investigations, the police said that the explosion had taken place at 3 hours local time, and that in the area they found drone batteries and an abandoned vehicle used by the victims. On its part, the country's prosecutor's office is investigating whether it was an attempted blast at the coastal prison. This event takes place 1 day after the explosion of 2 car bombs in Esmeraldas. And in the midst of the commemoration of the 4th year of the electoral victory in 2018, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, announced the implementation of a new system of attention to the people. The Venezuelan president announced through his social network on Twitter that on Friday, the 1-by-10 system of good governance will be activated. The new policy will be integrated with the system and the Carnet de la Patria, which will allow to attend the citizens' priorities in real time, and also the proposals of the people. Meanwhile, the head of state emphasized that the country will become a technological vanguard for the attention of the Venezuelan people. And in his most recent tweet, the Venezuelan president said, "I remember the triumph of May 20th, when the people re-elected me as president. Great victory of true democracy. We have faced intense battles in civil-military union, and we are still standing and victorious. We will move forward with a new way of governing of the 1/10." And now we move on to other topics. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, warned that in Peru, more than 15 million people are at risk. The FAO warned that the government of Peru that it must control the shortage of fertilizers in the country to prevent millions of citizens from falling into food risk. The UN agency explained that the situation is due to the fact that since 2020, farmers register high costs in their productions, also in their products, due to the lack of fertilizers and international conflicts. FAO studies estimated a drop in the sowing of crops in the next agricultural season. In this context, the executive of Lima published an emergency decree authorizing the purchase of imported nitrogen fertilizers. In the Dominican Republic, the affectations persist by the electrical production deficit. Amid the protests, the Ministry of Energy and Mines announced the incorporation of 4 new generating plants. The Dominican government explained that 4 private electrical plants will come into operation in the country to mitigate the crisis in the electrical service. Local media indicated that the blackouts in the territory did not stop, as well as the economic affectations. This has caused manifestations in various regions of the country. The executive also said that the electrical units that will be coupled to the national electro-energy system will supply around 410 megawatts as of the weekend, while the current faults are solved.
Around 250 new megawatts are going to be added to the system. For that, we are counting on the collaboration or integration of electrical plants that are currently serving Falcondo, also Barrigón, and another electrical plant of the system like Sultana del Este. What this means is that from here and well into the night, we will have 250 additional megawatts due to procedures that we have made to reduce the generation crisis.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Less than 2 weeks before the presidential elections in Colombia, the candidate for the historical pact, Gustavo Petro, leads voting intention, according to the latest polls. The Musketeers poll that measured voting intention in Colombia revealed that Gustavo Petro leads with 44%, while Federico Gutiérrez is in second place with 22% of support among those surveyed. It was also known that presidential candidate and former Bucaramanga mayor Rodolfo Hernández comes third with 15% support. This survey was made on May 15th and 18th of this year to 6,000 people in the cities of Bogotá, Medellín, Cali, Barranquilla, and Bucaramanga. The United Kingdom and Mexico launched negotiations for a new trade deal on Friday, looking to add services to their current agreement, as well as aiming to increase trade in the financial and digital sectors. British International Trade Secretary Anne-Marie Trevelyan met with Mexican Secretary of Economy Tatiana Clouthier to review the agreements at the London headquarters of the beverage company Diageo. Following the meeting, both government officials issued a joint statement reaffirming that Mexico and the United Kingdom will work together to take their trade and economic relationship to the next level. Both nations instructed their teams to hold the first official round of negotiations in Mexico City in July and a second round in the autumn. Both representatives said this timeline will allow to make significant progress to conclude negotiations for a new free trade agreement within 2 years. And death and injuries from migrant falls at the border fence between California, U.S., and Mexico are more frequent since parts of the structure were enhanced under the Trump administration. According to a study by the University of California, San Diego Hospital, the number of patients with horrific fractures, punctured lungs, and traumatic miscarriages has increased. Upon reaching the border wall, migrants desperate to reach their goal of reaching U.S. soil decide to jump it. In 2019, the wall that crosses part of the U.S.-Mexico border was erected at several points, fulfilling a campaign promise of then-President Donald Trump. Since that date, the number of injured has reached 375, and 16 people have lost their lives after falling off the wall.
This is a ladder made out of rebar that oftentimes this type of ladder is used to scale the border wall. Flat panels that are on top of the border wall, it's a feature that's supposed to retain the heat of the sun, and so if someone is climbing it, it makes it that much more difficult for them to hold on.
And now we move on to other topics. The passage of the first tropical depression through Nicaragua caused damage in 8 neighborhoods of the city of Managua. Municipal authorities made a tour of the most affected areas and recorded that at least 25 houses in District 4 of Managua were flooded. The authorities have deployed brigades for cleaning tasks while providing support to the families affected by the rains. The General Secretary of the Mayor's Office of Managua, Fidel Moreno, said that the tours will continue in different parts of the city, while stressing that part of the overflowing of the rivers is a result of the excess of garbage that obstructs the drainage areas.
Of the 8 neighborhoods affected here in District 4, thanks God we only have 25 flooded houses. We are immediately assisting with mattresses and blankets. There are 2 houses with semi-damaged roofs, and we're also going to help with their repair. We also had some floods in the same area, in Hospital Solidarity and Immigration, due to the same cause.
And more than 30 people were injured, including 10 seriously, on Friday in a tornado, which hit the western German city of Paderborn. The tornado also caused significant damage in the city in the North Rhine-Westphalia state, following abnormally high temperatures for the time of the year. Security forces said many roofs were blown off and trees uprooted in the surrounding areas. Photos shared on social media showed cars that were upturned. The railroad travel was disrupted as police called on people to remain indoors. German meteorological services put out a storm warning on Friday and predicted gales of up to 130 kilometers per hour in some places. The bad weather first hit the west of the country and was set to travel eastwards later in the evening. On Friday, Egypt's Prime Minister launched a new national strategy for tackling climate change. Prime Minister Mustafa Mabduli said that Egypt was one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. At the introduction of the National Climate Change Strategy, the NCCS 2015, Mabduli emphasized the importance of addressing climate change and described it as a threat to national security. Egypt will host the 27th UN Climate Change Conference in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh in November. The Minister of Environment announced that costs for the NCCS 2015 plan is estimated to be about $211 billion for mitigation programs and $133 billion for adaptation programs. And deadly pre-monsoon floods hit northeastern Bangladesh. Bangladesh's northeastern Sylhet region flooded, with schools and shops out of the heavy pre-monsoon fills local rivers. 4 people have died in the floods so far, and about 2/3 of the region is underwater. Officials said at least a fifth of Bangladesh, a low-lying nation of crisscrossing muddy rivers at the top of the Bay of Bengal, is hit by flooding every year. According to the Bangladesh Water Development Board, many river levels in the district are at dangerous or severely dangerous levels. Additional heavy showers could exacerbate the situation in areas where the ground is already saturated from previous rainfall and will likely hamper recovery efforts. And we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Russian President Vladimir Putin today proposed the creation of a state information protection system during a meeting of the Russian Security Council. Putin described these issues as comprehensive and extremely relevant for everyone, including the sovereignty, public stability, and security of Russia. In his speech, the president denounced that cyber attacks against Russia are well coordinated and carried out from different countries with the participation of state structures. In this regard, he stressed that the number of cyber attacks has increased several times over, and according to the experts, hackers are unable to do so without a broader help. The president claimed that there is a large-scale war against Russia in cyberspace and that the number of cyber attacks against it has increased in recent years, especially since the conflict with Ukraine.
The number of cyber attacks, including complex ones, has increased many times over. As specialists and experts note, lone hackers, of course, cannot do this. Attacks are delivered from different states, and at the same time, they are clearly coordinated. Purposeful attempts are being made to disable the internet resources of Russia's critical information infrastructure.
And Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov meets with Malian counterpart Abdoulaye Diop in Moscow. The meeting comes after Mali ejected French troops from its territory earlier this month and expressed interest in widening trade with Russia. The visit of Mali's foreign minister takes place in the context of a coup attempt in this African country. A group of Malian militaries supported by the Western state tried to carry out a coup d'etat on 11th and 12th of May. However, the defense and security forces of Mali managed to prevent it. This new meeting touched upon issues related to Russia's exports of wheat, fertilizers and oil, as well as supporting military assistance and combat capability.
There is a real danger of the emergence of enclaves of anarchy, or militants of various illegal armed formations, which have already prepared for similar actions, will act freely. This threatens the territorial integrity of the country, and we have spoken about this to our French colleagues more than once. There is dissatisfaction with the intent of Malian leadership to seek help from external security forces is nothing other than a recurrence of colonial mentality, which the Europeans should have got rid of long ago.
For his part, Abdoulaye Diop said that certain partners have not yet realized that things have changed and held the fact that Mali has taken its destiny into its own hands.
We would like to express our gratitude for the efficiency with which Russia responded to our requests to be able to buy Russian military equipment, which was delivered in record time. Today, this allows us to be there on the ground and the army at the front with a strategy which is currently producing results. Every day there are attempts to make our lives difficult, because the only problem that we have is that Malians have decided to take their destiny into their own hands. They decided to manage their country according to their own vision. I believe that certain of our partners have not yet realized the things.
France, Germany and Australia have just enlarged the list of countries with monkeypox cases. The viral disease is experiencing a resurgence in North America and at least 8 European countries. The list of countries with confirmed cases of monkeypox has increased after France, Germany and Australia reported their first case of the disease, which originated in West and Central Africa and continues to spread in Europe. The Institute of Infectious Diseases at the Sapolnazi Hospital in Rome said that the disease was identified for the first time on Thursday in a young man who had recently returned from the Canary Islands. In the meantime, patients are in isolation and are receiving treatment. Monkeypox is characterized by flu-like symptoms at first and then evolves with rashes in the face and the body. So far, the countries with the highest number of cases are Spain, Portugal and the United Kingdom. China's foreign ministry on Friday vowed to take all necessary measures to safeguard Chinese firms' legitimate rights and interests after Canada revealed plans to ban the use of 5G gear from Chinese companies Huawei and ZTE on so-called national security grounds.
Without any concrete evidence, Canada has decided to exclude relevant Chinese companies from its markets, with a groundless pretext of national security. The move completely violates the principles of market economy and the rule of free trade, severely hurts the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies. China firmly opposes it and will conduct an assessment in a comprehensive and serious manner. We will take all necessary measures to safeguard Chinese companies' legitimate rights and interests.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warned that up to 18 million people in Africa's Sahel region will face severe food insecurity over the next 3 months, the highest number since 2014.
Up to 18 million people in Africa's Sahel region will face severe food insecurity over the next 3 months. And that's the highest number since 2014, according to our projections. In the Sahel, 7.7 million children under the age of 5 are expected to suffer from malnutrition. 1.8 million are severely malnourished, and if aid operations are not scaled up, this number could reach 2.4 million by the end of this year.
An Iraqi senior official warned on Friday that Lake Hamrin, a once vast reservoir northeast of Baghdad and the sole source of water for irrigation across the Yala province, has nearly dried out. The Iraqi official explained that successive years of low rainfall and a sharp reduction in the water flow down the Sirwan River in neighboring Iran have reduced much of the lake to a dust ball. The problem, the official said, is not exclusive to the Yala province. The World Bank predicts that without major changes, Iran will lose water resources by 2020. The country is classified as one of 5 most vulnerable to climate change effects and desertification. So we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.